Hello, everyone. This is Kelly Coates Gilbert from Dallas, Texas. And see this hair? I almost pulled it out a minute ago. Yes. Technology just was giving us fits tonight. I don't know why. Sometimes there is a glitch and Zoom will not integrate with Facebook and go live. We tried to pop over and do a regular live, and it was trying to throw us into rooms, and we didn't want that. So the next best thing is to go ahead and record this video, and then we'll just throw the video recording up. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm sorry it's not the regular way. But when we get done here, we'll tell you how to enter Bette Lee's giveaway, and we'll, all that will still be in place. So let's just get going. Bette Lee is a really good friend of mine. We met probably a good year and a half ago. We were both on a group called Blue Sky. Some of you are members over there and probably have seen us. That was before I decided to pop over here and do my own thing on She's Reading. But Bette Lee is a good friend. I find her as a reader, I read her books. I just find them charming. And as a person, she's become one of my best friends. And so I'm just so tickled to have her here. Bette Lee has over 1,100 five-star reviews on her books. Not only that, she has over 20 awards. And we're going to talk a little bit about those reviews and the awards. But Bette Lee has penned a lot of different series. She has the Magnolia Grove series. She has the Wyattsville series, the Memory House series, and Serendipity. And we'll be talking about those later tonight too. But not only that, she has a lot of standalones, because sometimes I just enjoy a good standalone. And she has two that are some of my absolute favorites. And I think you'd all agree with me because they are obviously fan of favorites. They sell like crazy. She's got hundreds of reviews on them. You will not want to miss out going over and checking out A Million Little Lies and Emily Gone. Oh my gosh, those are my absolute favorites of her whole catalog. But when I checked her reviews, these are some common words and phrases that I found in all of her reviews. Awesome. That word shows up a lot. Heartfelt, loving, heartbreaking, moving, and the all-time repeated phrase, hopeful. So you can tell that Bette Lee's books are highly emotional books, and I am just so tickled to have her here. Welcome, Bette Lee.
Hi, Kelly. It's great to be here, despite our troubles getting here tonight.
We did. We had some troubles, but we don't let that kind of stuff bother us. We just go on.
They say if it rains on your wedding day, you'll have a great wedding. So maybe this is the same analogy.
Right. This party is still going to be a great one to attend, no doubt. Tell us just a little bit about, briefly about how you came to write, and I've heard your story. It's a good one. Just tell us briefly how you ended up in a writer's chair.
Totally from the back door, that's for sure. I started out as an artist. I studied art in college. That was my specialty, fine art. And I started out on the drawing board. I got a job as a packaging designer, and I was very young and very inexperienced. And I designed, it was pantyhose packaging mostly. And I designed the package and I gave it to the salesman and I said, excuse me, sir, I need some copy for the back of this package. And salesmen are notorious. I know because I'm married to one. Salesmen are notorious about disliking anything that has anything to do with detail. So he said, make something up, kid. Whatever you make up is fine with me. So I did. I thought, well, that's nice, and I said, these pantyhose fit. They're great. They stretch. They move, all the things that I would like in a pair of pantyhose. So I went from that, and then I started writing copy for all the packages, and then I moved into marketing. So after a while, they said, gee, you're pretty good at this. You want to write the company newsletter? So I said, sure, why not? But really, I came through the back door. The thing is that I'm from the South. Southerners are born storytellers. Yeah. And I always loved reading. So I guess it was kind of a natural transition. But I'll tell you, it was a big change because when you're writing for business, and I wrote for business many years before I ventured off onto fiction, but when you're writing for business, the idea is get to the point. You're short, sweet, it's the destination that's important, the point you're going to get to. When you write for fiction, it's not the destination, it's the journey.
I found that true too, because when I started writing, I came from a legal career, and when I started writing, my writing mentor used to tell me, "This sounds, I don't want to offend you, but this sounds an awful lot like a legal pleading." I had to learn to get inside a character's head, and like you said,
take your time.
Take that.
The idea is not to get there as quickly as you might intend. You know, when you start the book, you know what's going to happen, but the idea is not to get there until the last chapter.
That's right. That's right. And I like to say that, you know, writing a book is if you write it well, it's like a roller coaster ride. The reader goes up and down and then around and spirals. And you do such a good job of that, Bette Lee. You're
Thank you.
Emily Gone. I was amazed at how, I mean, it's a movie. I hope that thing gets picked up for a movie.
I hope so too.
You know, it's a wonderful, I could see the cinema playing in my head as I read it, the characters, the emotion was so taut, so crisp, so it moves so beautifully. And I'm telling you right now, I know that some of you readers out there, some of the members of She's Reading, I know some of you know Bette Lee. Right now, if you know Bette Lee and you've read her books, go ahead in the comments and put what your favorite Bette Lee book is and why, because that one's mine, no doubt. How did you?
I think the two books that people came to know me best, it was originally Spare Change, and then recently a whole new group of readers started following me because of Emily Gone.
Yeah.
Well,
most of the authors that come on She's Reading are women's fiction authors.
Yeah.
And so tell me why you love that genre and what pulled you to write women's fiction.
I think that's the one I read more than anything else. I always found myself gravitating to books that pulled me in. Like if I start a book and the first chapter pulls me in, and I'm not much for like I don't necessarily like to open a book and find there's a dead blonde with long legs on the first page, you know. So you know the rest of the book is going to be solving who killed the blonde. But you know, I like complex things that have to do with people. That and you know, it's funny because when I was working as an artist, when I painted for pleasure, the thing I painted most was people.
Yeah.
It was just I don't know. I guess I find that really interesting. I think that, you know, it's so interesting to find not what's on the outside of a person, and I don't spend a lot of time describing people, but what's on the inside. That's what's really interesting, and it just
and
really
what motivates them.
I like recently I've started reading some magical realism, and I like that very much. But I would read across the board. I'd read Stephen King and Ann Tyler, and you know, all of the big authors, and then there were mostly a handful of big authors when I started reading. I mean, you know, there was not the selection that you have now, that's for sure.
Well, I agree that your books are highly emotive. And so I have a question here that I thought would be fun to ask you. What was the first book you read that made you cry?
Oh gosh. Maybe Gone with the Wind.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, you wanted Scarlett to reform and she just was incorrigible. But you know, it could have been Gone with the Wind. It's been so long since the first book that I read.
I remember reading that. I grew up on a sheep ranch, and I would be hiding out in the granary reading, and my mother would be hollering at me, "Kelly Ray," you know, because it was time to change the sprinklers, but I was not going to leave because Charleston was burning. And
exactly. I remember when I read that, that was the book that I guess got me staying up at night. You know, when the book is so good that you just can't put it down and set it aside. That's the one that I remember being that way more than, you know, the first one that was that way.
You know, one of the things that I think that you do extraordinarily well is you create characters. And I mean, your characters are varied, and like Scarlett, they're not one-dimensional. They really do have multifacets. And so tell me a little bit about how you create characters. How do you do that?
You know, I guess I create people almost like I'd see them, Kelly. I don't have a particular method or anything. And a lot of times I started out, the book I'm working on now, I started and I was probably about 30,000 words in. And I said, this isn't right. There's something wrong here. There's something wrong. And you know, it was one of the minor characters. And so I printed everything out and I went and read it somewhere else. And I said, this character doesn't fit in here. You know, it wasn't even a major character, but it was a minor character who was throwing the rhythm off. Because when a character is real and natural, it's almost like you would know them, you know, and you kind of know if they would say this or if they would say that. And sometimes when I'm working and I'm trying to get a certain amount done during the day, and I'm really tired and I'm not, you know, I'm not like my best brain here, but I write. And then the next day I look at it and I say, that's not right. And I take the whole thing out. So I've kind of learned to, you know, if I'm not feeling it, to walk away and come back when I'm feeling it. But, you know, I think it's something, and you're probably the same way because you have some great characters also. I mean, your characters very much lead you from one book to the next. I mean, you know, they're the kind of people you want to be friends with, you want to be involved with. And I think every character has some, you know, they say there's a piece of you in your characters, and there really is. There's a piece of me in a lot of my characters, even the bad ones, I hate to say. But, you know, I think I am like so far from perfect. You know, I can get mad. I can, you know, be angry about this, that, or the other thing. And I think I try to bring that to my characters, the same honesty that I would have with myself. So.
One of the things that I admire about you, Betty, is because I've watched you online before we actually, you know, talked in person. I watched you online a lot. You have this keen way of connecting with people, and you're very observant, and you are everyone's friend. And I think that translates into a lot of your book characters. I just, you know, you show up on that page.
There's a lot of, I know from time to time I hear someone say something and it reminds me of something, and it reminds me of, you know, the kind of character they would be, you know. And when I wrote Emily Gone, for instance, there was one scene in there where the wife was so determined to wait for that phone call, and the husband knew how futile it was, and he kept saying to her, "Come on, go to bed. Come on, go to bed," and she wouldn't do it, and she sat there and she said, "Go without me," and you know she was angry with him, not because of anything he'd done, but because of life. And, you know, I could really equate to that. I've been in that spot myself. I've done the same thing. And when he left, I was mad because he left, but I told him to get out, you know? So I think if you can bring that same honesty, if you can put your own feelings into it, the character will seem very real. And let's face it, we all have those feelings. We all have angry moments. Nobody is 100% good and nobody is 100% bad.
That's right.
Even a killer loves his mother.
That's what makes novels delicious. I mean, a reader can immerse herself or himself in a story, and you feel like you're in the story, and it's you, and you're experiencing those emotions, and you connect because you recognize what that feels like. And then it can take you places you've never been and let you feel things you've never felt. I mean, I can't believe there are people who don't read.
Oh, I know. You know what, Kelly? If you want to hear a heartbreaker, I have a sister who doesn't read. And I say to myself, how can it be that we're related?
That's right.
But yeah, she does it. I mean, maybe once a year she'll read a half a book while she's on a cruise, and that's just because she has nothing else to do at that moment. But I say to her, and then she'll call me and say, I'm so bored. I don't know what to do with this virus and everything. I'm stuck home. I say, read, I'm telling you, there's a magic in it. If you let yourself go with it, it's, when I have a good book, oh my gosh, I can't, the world could be crashing down around me and I wouldn't notice if I'm really caught up in a book.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So one of the things you do a really good job of in your stories is creating villain characters. And so I want to ask you, what is the one character in all of your books that your readers most love to hate?
Oh, that's tough. the most villainous one, I think, is the one from, what was he in?
Well, I'll tell you what you did with
Jubilee's Journey.
Emily Gone. You had a villain that you not only hated, but you loved.
Yeah.
And tell just a little bit, just the premise of that story so people understand. And if you have not read a Bette Lee Crosby book, that's one you'll want to go over and start with. Tell them about that.
I read a lot that's set in the first half of the 20th century. I love that period. You know, I love the period because it's such a time of innocence. We didn't have internet. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have any of these things that we take for granted now. So if a character got in trouble, they had to figure it out themselves. There was no easy out. So I love that because it gives you the chance to really build a whole scenario around them. And in Emily Gone, it takes place in the early 70s, and this big music festival, think like a Woodstock event. That you hear about this small town that's right where the festival is. And the last night of the festival, a baby disappears. And the fun part of this story is it ends up with the mother of the baby, the woman who took the baby, and the woman who ended up with the baby. And you know what? You had to feel for each one of those. Each one of those people lost something huge, huge. I mean, even the girl who kidnapped the baby, I mean, she was a sad character. I mean, that was before we really understood postpartum depression or anything like that. So she was really a very sympathetic character. You knew what she did was wrong, but you couldn't totally flat out hate her.
No, I mean, she is a villain in that she caused so much pain. And yet you crafted her beautifully in that you could not hate her. You couldn't hate her once you understood.
That was, I thought that was a very interesting, and you know, that kind of builds because you think like what kind of a scenario you're going to work with and what kind of a character, but you don't know until you really get in. And I'm sure you find the same thing, Kelly, because I find it in your books and I can spot it right away. You know, when I start reading a book and I open the first few pages and a person is whining about their fate in life, I just know, you know, it's not going anywhere for me. But when I read your books, I get very into them because I think there's the same thing, hopefulness and just wholesome life, you know? But that one, I found like I have
to escape into a story, and they can really escape into your books.
Yeah. And with Emily Gone, I found that the deeper I got into it, and I think this is true really for every book, the deeper I get into it, the more I know the characters. And they grow, they get bigger and richer and more fully developed. Because when you first start, I always say it's a shame you don't write the first chapter last. And often I do. Often I will get far down and then I'll go back and rewrite the first chapter because I know them so much better by then.
I do too. You know, one of the things that we talk about on She's Reading pretty often is whether an author is a pantser or a plotter. And for those of you who do not know, a plotter methodically plots out their novel scene by scene, chapter by chapter, so they know what they're going to be writing that day. The whole other end of the spectrum is to be a pantser, and that is you write by the seat of your pants. And then there's some kind of middle ground in between. So what are you?
Oh, so pantser. So actually, you know, I've read so many books on why plotting it out is better and everything. And I've tried it a half a dozen times at least. I had one book that I swear I wrote a $10,000 word outline that was plotting the book out. And do you know, by the second chapter, I was off. I was already departed from my outline. So that was kind of the last time I did it. After that, I said, this really is a waste of time for me to do that because I know these characters are going to grow and they're going to change.
And they're going to do their thing. And sometimes and that's what's fun. As a writer, I get my coffee in the morning, I sit down and it's almost like I'm reading the book because I know where I'm going, but I don't know exactly how it's going to unfold. And that's some of the fun of writing.
This is an interesting question for you, Kelly. Do you start do you create the plot, the action that's going on when you're sitting at your computer, or is it in your head when you sit down?
I have a general premise, but really I am a very character-driven storyteller. I go get pictures off the internet of my characters. And when I visually see a character, I start looking at them and saying, what in my head, what's your story? And then I start designing my characters. And when I start designing my characters, you know, who they are, what they do, just in my head, I don't have charts or anything like that. That's too plotting for me. But pretty soon a story that, you know, if I have a general premise and then I pick the characters, they just start, ideas start popping. And then I just start, I can't wait. I can't wait. So I get down and I start writing. And then when I start writing, just like you described, it just starts unfolding.
Yeah.
And that's what you do?
I don't necessarily pull pictures. Once in a while I do. When I wrote A Million Little Lies, I pulled a picture of the house that they went to because, and I kept that on my home screen because I felt that that was important to me. That was, you know, that was the setting of where everything was going to change. Her whole life was going to change when she got there. So I had a picture of a mother and a little girl from the back, and I had a picture of the house, and that was it.
You know, one of the things that I mentioned when I was introducing Bette to you all is that she has a lot of reviews and thousands of 5-star reviews. I mean, people love her books. Tell me, Bette, about that review process, because I was checking, you know, I'm a former legal investigator, so I investigated your girlfriend. And you know what I found out? I found out that you were a reviewer for the New York Journal of Books.
You know what? I'll tell you the honest inside scoop on that. It wasn't actually me. How about that? You know what happened? The girl that worked for me, Coral, she liked to read a lot too. So she said, you know what? How about if I do this? They won't let me review it for the New York Journal of Books, but they'll let you review it. So I said, okay, go ahead. So it was enjoyable though. I mean, she enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed hearing her reviews and hearing her thoughts on individual books, but it wasn't something that I wanted to, you know. The thing is, it's a touchy thing with writing a review, an author writing a review of another book, especially now. It's not hard if you love the book. It's not hard. I mean, you know, you can think of all the great things that you liked about the book. But, you know, if you didn't love the book, I think it's unfair for one author to say about another author, this book stinks. I might think it, but I don't want to say it because that's my choice. That's my opinion. But it may not be everybody else's opinion. It may be that, you know, other people have a different opinion. They might appreciate a kind of fiction that I don't like as much. So it's very unfair. And I think because you are an author, your review comment has added weight. You know, so it's not like I'm Joe Smith reviewing the book. It's like people say, oh, I know. Yeah, if she doesn't like it, I'm not going to like it. So that's unfair to me. So a lot of times I will just comment on the books that I really like.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
kind of like it when your mom taught you, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all.
That's absolutely.
It's not lying. It's not lying. It's just that I choose not to do that because I just think it's unfair. I think your review is too weighted.
That's right. And that's what makes you a class act, Bette. Tell me though about how important reviews are to a book's success.
Oh, very much so. You know, more people will go. Every time, I think that's one of the ways that a lot of my books became popular. Every time somebody goes on Facebook or Goodreads or Instagram and says, oh, wow, I read this book and I loved it. You got to read this. You know, that's like, you can't buy that kind of publicity.
It's word of mouth publicity.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's like, it's a recommendation. And every time someone posts a review, it's a recommendation. And, you know, unlike some people think, they think, oh, I have to be really clever or I have to be really recap the story. And you don't. You know what? 2 or 3 lines is fine. 2 or 3 lines that says, I love this book. It reminded me of my Aunt Martha and I can't wait to read the next book. or, this book was okay. It wasn't my particular cup of tea, but someone else may like it,
Yeah,
Um,
one of my
I
favorite
think that's
reviews
fine.
was this. I'm not going to quote it verbatim, but one of my favorite reviews was, "Oh my gosh, where's this author been? I'm going to read all her books."
I love those kind of reviews.
They're heartfelt, and you've hit the spot. And not every book is for every reader.
Right.
It a really good book. I'm going to tell a secret here, but I am a person in America who has never seen a Star Trek movie.
Neither have I. I've watched bits and pieces, but
I knew I liked you. I don't like stories where I cannot suspend my disbelief.
right.
I have to be able to immerse myself in the story and become part of that story. And I just can't do it in science fiction.
Well, I think movies like Star Trek are so about the plot. They're not about the characters. It's a plot-driven thing,
And people who love those, but I would not be a person who should review that because I don't like that.
Right.
So let me ask you some of these other questions I have, because I had some
Okay.
ones here.
I know we get started talking and we forget, go right off script, right?
It doesn't matter. We don't have a script. This is just a chat. But I do know that you have a beloved pup called Sugar.
Yes.
So that prompts my next question. What animal best describes you as a writer, and why?
Oh, a dog, definitely.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think just, if I was a personality, I would probably be a dog, and I would probably be a spoiled Bichon, I think, and lay on my back and get my belly rubbed.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I think dogs are loyal, and they're quick to give affection. And I think I'm like that, by and large.
Like
I think dogs are trusting.
Yep.
So I think all those qualities that I like in a dog, I hope I have,
Well, and I think, I've read enough of your books that I know too is, a dog is a trusted friend. And when you pick up one of Bette Lee Crosby books, you can trust that you're going to get a few things. You're going to get a highly emotive ride. You are going to get characters that are deep and multi-layered. You're going to get a plot that's just thrilling with plot twists that you didn't see coming. And you're going to get, but they're gentle reads. You're not going to find on the page sex. You're not going to find, curse words, and they're going to end hopeful. This is what happens when you close a Bette Lee Crosby book. You close it and go, oh, that was a good read. That was a good 2 hours spent. And that's what you get. Would you not agree, readers? Because you're going to be watching this video. And if you think that's true, and I know some of you have read Bette Lee's books, put in those comments what you love about Betty's books. And I bet you're like me. They're just one of those things you can count on to give you some hope and just a good read. And you can trust that it'll happen every single time. When you very first earned some money, on your books.
Wait a minute, you're supposed to earn money doing this?
Yes.
Oh.
And I'm not saying profit. I'm just saying you earned.
Oh, okay.
So what did you spend your very first book earnings on? Anything special? Did you take a trip? Did you buy some jewelry?
No. I'd been working for so long, and when I started out, it was really a venture of love. I was doing what I really liked. And no, it wasn't. To tell you the truth, my first earnings were so small, I could have bought myself an ice cream cone. I mean, really, when you start out, I think, well, you were with a traditional publisher. I wasn't. But when you start out, I mean, the first month I sold, I don't know, 20 books maybe. And I was there like in the beginning almost of the ebook revolution, and they weren't even that popular then. But maybe 20 books. And then the next month I sold like 30 or 40. And, it just continued to grow that way. But yes,
That's not the case.
There's not a lot of earnings to worry about how to spend it at first.
I know you've been on some bestseller lists, so that changed over time for sure. One of the things that I did with my very first earnings is I had a launch party in my hometown of Boise, Idaho, and we rented a big event center and had a cake and had champagne, and I just celebrated because it was a dream of mine, and I was just so tickled it came true. you know.
Oh, that's so nice. Linda's book obsession. Linda is
Oh,
now a friend of mine, but the way I met her is she's a reviewer and she had a book page. And when Summer of New Beginnings launched, it was a Lake Union book, and I was on launch day. I had a radio interview booked for an hour, and normally I plan something, for launch day. And this goofy girl, oh, I got so mad at her. This goofy girl totally screwed up the schedule. And when I was supposed to call in at a certain time, when I called in, she said, the assistant said, "Who's this?" So, of course, they said, well, we'll hold on, we'll do it the next half hour. And so then she called me back and she said, "Oh, how about we'll reschedule it for next week?" And I was so peeved at that point, I said, "Forget it." And I messaged Linda's book obsession. And I said, "I have nothing to do and no place to go, and it's my launch day. Can I come over and visit your page and do live?" So I did. And she had a great turnout for it and everything. And it was really, when I tell you, spur of the moment, it was.
Yeah. And one of the biggest pleasures of this publishing industry for me, and I know for you, is our connection with our readers. Tell me a little bit about how you provide connection, what you do to connect. I want you to tell readers a little bit about how they can sign up for your newsletter. And by the way, when you do, you get a free book. So listen carefully. So tell them about all the ways they can connect with you.
First of all, Facebook. Friend me on Facebook. I love hearing from readers. If you friend me on Facebook, though, just mention that, I saw you on Kelly, or, something like that. Because otherwise, Facebook is a little strange sometimes, and you get all kinds of strange requests. I mean, I do not want to date a soldier. I'm already married. No, I don't want to join a cult. But, so just mention or say you like to read or something. So friend me on Facebook, follow my Facebook author page. I have an author page on Facebook. Also, I have a group, the Betty's Book Club, and we read a book about every month and a half, depending on schedule. It's kind of a fun group. And I have the BFF Clubhouse, which is Betty's Friends and Fans, but it's called BFF Clubhouse. When I first started that, they said, "You need a street team." And I said, "A street team? What's a street team?" And, I couldn't bring myself to call it a street team. It sounded like a bunch of hookers out on the sidewalk. So I named it the BFF Clubhouse. It sounded friendlier. Or I'm on Twitter, and everywhere you go, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest.
And you have a lovely website.
Yeah, and that's on my website. That's always good.
That is where you can go, and there is a tab called Books. And when you hit that, you'll see, and she's really organized it well, because all her series are organized. So you can just click, and you click on a series and all those books come down in order. So go out and go to her website, check out all her books and all the different series that she's written, choose which ones. And by the way, I just think Emily Gone is a must. That and A Million Little Lies. Those two are my, maybe it's because I read those more recently, but those are really my favorites. And then make sure that you sign up for her newsletter and get that free book.
Thank you.
So that's and your website is lovely. I mean, it just depicts soft and pretty colors. And I'm kind of a website junkie. I love to just look at people's websites. And we're about 45 minutes in, so there's a couple more things that I want to do. One thing that I do with every author is I do what's called rapid fire. And that's where I just say this or this, and you just quickly, without explanation, you just say which one. So you ready? These things are designed for us to get to know you even more. So rapid fire, chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Pie or cake?
Cookies.
Rebel. Beer or wine?
Wine.
Stilettos or flip-flops?
Flip-flops. by a foot.
Dawn or sunset?
Sunset.
Swimming or walking?
Walking.
Beach or mountains?
Mm. Ooh, beach, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm
Since you're in
I'm
Florida,
kind of in between on those.
yeah, I love them both. Okay, cook or takeout?
Takeout.
Campground or resort?
Resort.
Resort. And then flowers or massage?
Ooh, now that's another hard one. If it's a gift, flowers,
Good.
but I do love a good massage.
In fact, I get one often because I'm, just writing all the time.
I know, that's with me too.
All right. So I do know, before we go, I do know that I checked and you have some fabulous promos going right now, some sales. Tell the readers about the sales that are going right now on your books.
The one that's on sale right this minute is Amazon has Baby Girl, the Kindle version, for 99 cents, which is great value. It hasn't been on sale for 2 years, so I was very glad to see they put it on sale.
Grab that one. Yeah.
And that one is cool because it's based on a true story, and it was quite an amazing true story. One of my readers gave to me. She follows me on Facebook, and I commented on something she had said, and she said, well, it was about a baby that she had given up for adoption. And when I commented, she said, if you ever want to write a story from the birth mother's perspective, let me know and I'll tell you mine. And so, of course, that was, that's too tempting to pass up on. So I did. And, that book went on, I wrote it, and it went on to so many awards. And it was an International Book of the Year. And Huffington Post called it the best chick lit of the year.
Oh, that's wonderful, Betty Lee. All came from a reader. So there you go, readers. If you don't think you're not important to us, you are on multiple.
Oh, big time.
So are there any other sales or anything they need to know about right now?
I think Amazon, they don't always tell me everything they have on sale, but I did notice the other day that they had Emily Gone in the paperback for like $8.50 or $8.60, something like that.
Well, go to Amazon too. And if you just go to Amazon and go to Bette Lee Crosby's author page on Amazon, and you'll see all her books and watch them, because like she said, Amazon sometimes puts up sales that we don't
I know, and you don't know. And, sometimes it's the reader who says to me, you know what, I found this on sale. And I said, oh, really? I'll share it with everybody, because, I love seeing people get the books on sale. And the reason why is, this isn't a job you go into to make money. Trust me, I made much more money when I was working. But this is a job that you go into because you have stories that you want to share. And I would rather 1,000 people buy a $1 book and read it than have one person hand me $1,000 for that book. It's just a totally different thing. It's the sharing. It's the sharing of stories. It's the connection that I make with you. You can say to me, oh, I just downloaded 10 of your books, but we don't have a connection until you start reading those books.
That's right.
Once you read the books, that's where the connection comes in, because then you know my heart and you talk to me and I talk back to you. I answer everybody. When they post, both on my Facebook page, my personal page and my author page are open, where people can comment or leave messages or anything else. And if you say something, I'll answer you.
Yeah, nothing better than a reader writing and telling you they adored your book.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, if they start talking about one of my characters, it's just like, it's so fun, because I feel like I almost write in a vacuum sometimes, and I so want to hear, ooh, did the reader like it when she did that? Did the reader like it when that happened? So that feedback is just fills me up. It's really fun. So let's tell our readers tonight about your giveaway.
Okay, I'm going to do 2 paperbacks tonight. One is,
that'll make Ruth Benson happy. She writes me all the time and says, I want a paperback.
I'm going to do a copy of A Million Little Lies. That's my most recent release, and that's a very heartwarming story. I love that story. I wrote it right after I wrote Emily Gone, and Emily Gone is so intense and so heart-wrenching that I needed to write something that was uplifting, and that was intense but hopeful all the way through. And A Million Little Lies was like that, I thought. So I'm going to give away a paperback copy of that and a paperback copy of Baby Girl, because, you know, it's a book that's in the news, if you will, right now. So I thought people would enjoy it.
Exactly. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, okay, now this is how you enter. If you're watching this video and you have commented in any way on the bottom of this video, when I post it, just comment and you're in. And then Bette Lee's going to go in and randomly pick one, her winners, and then she will come on in the morning and post who those winners are. And then you will work directly with Bette Lee to give her whatever information she needs to get your prizes to you. Now, one of the things.
Give them till the afternoon.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, we'll make it the afternoon. That way, you know, the time zones are so different for everyone, and I want to be fair.
It's tomorrow afternoon. Just keep an eye out, and she'll post that. And then, of course, we're not able, even when we're live streaming, we're not able to see your comments because of the Zoom. And so, anything that you put in the comments, you know, Betty and I will come back in a few minutes. We're going to both go eat dinner, but then we're going to come back and we will answer any questions you have or any comments or anything. We'll come back on and kind of converse back and forth with you that way, just like we always do. So, but before we go, I've got to tell you a few things administratively about She's Reading. First of all, you may have caught the post, but my new series, the Pacific Bay series, the first book is free right now. So Go over and grab the ebook is free. Go over and grab a copy of Chances Are. So it won't be like that long. So go over and grab it right now. And like Betty, I want to see what people think. And so
it's a great book. I read it.
Yeah, that's in my Pacific Bay series. And then a couple of weeks ago, we talked about doing a book club, and Bette Lee, you know, mentioned that she's got a book club. So y'all, you know, make sure that you go participate over there. But I'm developing some plans right now. I'm exploring some different platforms and just some things about how that'll come. So I haven't forgotten that those plans are coming, and I'll be announcing it soon. And then Joyce on here sent me an email and asked me if I would create a list of all the author guests that had been on She's Reading with a website so that y'all could go over there and click and go check on all their books all the time. And so that my assistant is preparing that now. And so we'll be posting, because once you're an author guest on She's Reading, you're part of us. And so whenever I go out and I see one of Bette Lee's books on sale, or I see some news about Bette Lee, I'll come in here and post it real quick, because we're a family here. And once the authors have been here, I know you want to follow them. So that'll happen. And then, but in the meantime, I want to tell you that I have discovered a quick and easy way for you to go back and look at all the videos, because everybody was saying it's so cumbersome to have to peck through, you know, 6 months worth of posts to find the videos. Well, guess what? If you go to the top of your She's Reading, there's a menu bar, and there's an item called Media. Click Media, then click Videos, and guess what? All the videos appear, and you can just watch one after another, after another, after another, and catch all the ones that you've missed, and then watch them at your leisure, because sometimes you might not be available when we're live broadcasting. And guess what? Tonight is our 15th author chat video. 15. Wow. I'm really excited. So we've got lots of things coming, including some big holiday things. Please go. We're at 700 members, which just blows me away after we've only been here since May. 700 members, Betty. And
wow,
so
that is a good number.
I'm asking all of you to go invite all your friends, because I really want to get that to 1,000 before our big Christmas stuff. And I've got some big stuff on the horizon on the Christmas front. So that's going to be really fun. We're going to have a good time in December. So hurry and get all your friends here. And so with that, I'd like to just thank Bette Lee for coming. And I'm so sorry we had technical issues, but I'm going to go over there and post this video. It'll be fine. And Bette Lee, you and I'll be chatting, because we've become dear friends and we talk pretty regularly. So thank you for being here tonight. Really do.
It was my pleasure, really, Kelly. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad our schedules finally.
You too. Do you know we met at NINC?
We did.
That was our first meeting.
It was. We went to Florida, to St. Pete's Beach, where they have a great big writers conference every year.
Right.
We were in the women's fiction late night chat, and I got to meet your darling husband, And we visited and connected right away. And
Yeah.
then we just kept in contact. So, you know how you meet somebody and you just know that they're going to be someone you stay in contact with. Oh, that was Bette Lee. So anyway,
Same
good
here.
night, everyone. I'm going to end the video now, and thanks again for coming. And I'm sorry that I was
Well,
a couple of weeks. I was traveling, but we're going to be having these again on a pretty weekly basis. So, all right. Good night, everyone.
good night, Kelly.
Good night, Bette Lee.